Hello, my name's Ed Cawthorn and I'm an instructor of computer science at Manchester Community College. A couple of things I've noticed from emails that I've gotten from students is they're having a difficult time debugging their programs. I've concluded that some of these problems are caused by mismatched scope delimiters. This is a scope delimiter. A scope delimiter scope delimiters always come in pairs. There's an opening scope delimiter which goes from right to left, and there's a closing scope delimiter which goes from left to right. So the beauty behind scope delimiters is they define the area of consideration for the program. The program itself can't work outside of the scope delimiter. So it gives you boundaries. If you take a look for opening scope delimiters, your first opening scope delimiter, your second opening scope delimiter, and your third opening scope delimiter all go indent. All indent. They usually indent 3-4 spaces. Your last scope, your closing scope delimiters line up with your opening scope delimiters. As you can see, your closing scope delimiters line up with your closing scope delimiters. If you eliminate one of the scope delimiters, take your pick, hit return, it's going to give you an error. Now the error you're getting now is on this scope delimiter. That does not mean that scope delimiter is wrong. That means that it's looking for an extra scope delimiter. It's looking for a closing scope delimiter. You start off at the top. Look at this one. Look at the first scope delimiter, // opening scope delimiter for the namespace. Because this is written in C, it's a namespace program. If it were written in Java, it'd be a little bit different, but it's basically the same idea. You go through the same process. Go down to the bottom. You go here. Well, wait a minute. There is no other scope delimiter lined up with this. So that means that's the one you're missing. Hit a return, please. Insert a scope delimiter. Now the arrow, the red mark is gone. Scope delimiter errors cause cascading errors. Cascading errors are when you've got one problem here in your program, your scope delimiters are mismatched, you run it and you compile it, and that one problem goes into 5,000. Anytime you have a situation like that where you've got so many errors you just can't believe it, it's usually mismatched scope delimiters. I personally insert things like this on my scope delimiter. And I will go down here, I will take this and I will put a closing comment down here with my scope delimiter. That way I always make sure my scope delimiters match. Matching scope delimiters may sound like a bit of housekeeping that you don't want to do, but it's a bit of housekeeping that will save you a lot of misery. And that's really what you want to be able to do in programming when you're debugging. You want to be concentrating on the program and getting the program to work. You don't want to be concentrating on little things like this that are just going to cause you tons and tons of misery that are difficult to find and difficult to resolve. So if the first thing you do every time you add a scope delimiter is build a closing scope delimiter and put that comment in, when one of them disappears, it usually shows up like a sore thumb. Okay? Thank you very much.